boy, do I have a cool one for you today, because this is an off-roader, but not one that you'd expect. This is a really cool and affordable convertible four-wheel drive, and I've got the owner right here. Hunter, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right. How about you, Tommy?
Yeah, good. It's good to see you. Now, Hunter's brought along, well, I'm not really sure what it is because it's got a lot of different badging, but it's an Isuzu underneath, right? Explain what we got here.
Yeah, so this is a 2001 Isuzu Rodeo Sport. So it's the second generation of the Isuzu Amigo.
Okay.
I've got a couple Honda badges on there because the previous owner got a fender bender, and it turns out that Isuzu actually made the first generation Honda Passport.
Yeah.
And so all of the badging, the grille, they fit all the same. So he put on a Honda one, and I just kind of went with the theme. But yeah, this is a 2001 Isuzu Rodeo Sport.
So whenever I see the Honda versions, they're almost always four doors.
Yeah. So there was never any production two-door Honda version.
Okay.
I think in South America they actually like badged it into the Honda, but yeah, all the production ones were the four-door Passport, and it's the same exact thing as the Rodeo, just Honda badges all around.
So Isuzu Amigo, Isuzu Rodeo Sport, is that the same vehicle, or is one different than the other?
Yeah, so it's the same vehicle. They started off in the first generation. I think it was from 89 to 94, and that was the Isuzu Amigo. It had kind of a different platform than the Rodeo. And then in the second generation, this is almost the same thing as a Rodeo, but then they just shortened the wheelbase by 10 inches and gave it a convertible top.
That's so cool. You know, I don't think I've ever seen one of these in person, and it's really cool because they are a really small, tall, and very kind of rugged looking vehicle. So talk to me about what drew you to the Isuzu in the first place.
Yeah, well, like you said, they're kind of like a little less known, but they're still rather affordable because of that, I think. Isuzu doesn't make cars anymore in America. They got kind of beaten out by Jeep when they tried to compete with Jeep. Bad idea.
Yeah.
And so, I got this one for 80,000 miles and $4,000, so pretty nice deal. But then they're also, just as effective as some other four-wheel drive vehicles. So it's got a Dana 44 axle in the rear with limited slip differential.
Wow.
So the same one that some of the Jeeps have.
Yeah.
Just as effective. And then they're pretty easy to modify as well. So you can lift these up with pretty minimal equipment. All you really need is some larger springs because the front rides on torsion bar. It's an independent front suspension. And so you just get some larger springs or even some spacers, crank up the torsion bars, and your ride height goes up.
So how much taller over stock is this one sitting right now?
It's anywhere from about 3.5 to 4 inches. Anything past that, and you kind of start to lock out the CV axles unless you do a differential drop.
Yep.
But that's about as much as you need, really.
That's all you need. Yeah, and then you're running 32s, you said, on these tires?
Yeah, so this is 32s, so they're about 3 inches taller than stock. So then all in all, my ride height is about 4 to 5 inches taller than stock. It was originally 8 inches, so I should be about 12 to 13 inches.
Jeez.
So comparable to like a Land Rover, I guess.
That's crazy. So $4,000 for this one. Is that pretty common? What are people typically spending on?
Yeah. For like, one that's in this kind of condition, that's about what you'd expect to spend is, anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 depending on your location. And then, if you find one that just needs a little bit of love, then you can see anywhere from like $1,500 to $2,500 and get a pretty good deal.
So what's the engine in these? Can you pop the hood for us? Show us what's under the hood.
So the second generation came with 2 engine options, both Isuzu originals. They were, I think, a 2.6 liter inline 4, and that was brand new for that year. And then this one came with the optional V6. So it's a 24 valve V6, 4 cams, makes 205 horsepower, 215 pound-feet of torque, 3.2 liters, and yeah, it does well for its size and for its age. Like when I had the street tires on it, it was pretty peppy. With the bigger tires, it slowed it down a little bit. But
so being up here in Colorado, can you do 65, 70 up by 70? Can you maintain?
Easily, yeah. I commute on 70, most of the time, either through 70 or 93, and get through just fine. Yeah.
Nice. Now these had a connection to General Motors, right? Isuzu and GM had a partnership.
Yeah. So they had a pretty extensive partnership, and that ends up kind of being the weak point in these vehicles, and kind of what drove them out. Sorry if there's any GM fans, but yeah. So the engine is great. That's all Isuzu. But then GM kind of elbowed pressured them into using a brand spanking new GM transmission that had never even been used before, let alone on a GM vehicle. It's the 4L30E, so you might see them on some German cars too. And it kind of is not up to task. It's also a partially sealed transmission, so there's no dipstick. So to fill back up with some transmission fluid, which these things desperately need frequently, you have to get into there with a hand pump and crank it out.
Is that a 4-speed or a 3-speed?
It's a 3-speed with overdrive. Okay. So yeah, it does fine on the interstate and driving around, but if you're heading up like that really steep hill on the way to Costco, you'll be wanting a little bit.
Are these all automatics too? Are they all?
No, so they came with a 5-speed, and that's kind of the holy grail. Is if you can find 4-wheel drive V6 5-speed, the ones that Isuzu made, I think they're labeled the Mue 5. They're great. They'll last a lifetime. Yeah.
So let's talk about the coolest part on this vehicle, and I'm hoping you can demonstrate it. So
yeah, of course.
It is a convertible, which I think is super, super rad. And this is factory, right? This is how it came?
Yep. So this one is actually factory as a hardtop. I got it from the owner that way, and then I met up with another guy at the forums, and we traded with a little bit of money and got myself a soft top because I preferred the ability to drop it.
You can get them in hard and soft top. Is what you're telling me.
Yeah, it would be more difficult to convert a soft top to a hard top than vice versa, because the hard top models came with a rear windshield wiper, which is really nice, in the snow and stuff. And the soft top models came with a third brake light that was like on the extension of the vehicle, because on the hard top it was on the vehicle. So I had to install like basically one of those Jeep kind of things, a brake light like that, and I just kind of wired it all up.
Yeah, right on. So you still have the third. So how does the operation work?
Yeah, it's pretty easy. So all of the, I guess you could call them windows, come off as zippers. I always joke with my friends, there's like really no point in locking this. You can get in if you want. But yeah. Unzip it all the way around.
Oh yeah, look at that. Real time too, this is not even edited. See how fast this is going? Casey editor is amazed. Okay, so there's a couple of clasps.
Yep, and then just 2 clasps up here. Drop it right back.
Oh dude, that was so quick.
Yep.
Unreal. So behind the second row, there's like a little roll bar too. Look at that.
Yep. So I don't know like how effective it is, but it's there.
Hopefully you don't have to find out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Super cool. And then is there a panel above the driver's
The sunroof comes off too.
Oh wow, look at that. That is so much easier than the Wranglers of the era.
Yep. And I kind of leave it like that in the summer because, rain is a rare occurrence in Colorado. So
yeah. So this must be a really fun thing to kind of cruise around in Colorado.
Oh yeah,
that would
for
be
sure.
A lot of fun.
I get lots of looks.
So from an interior standpoint, it looks pretty basic, although the seats are the coolest I've ever seen in any of these 90s off-roaders.
Yeah, it's got a really cool pattern, I guess, to go with the rodeo kind of wild theme.
And are those airbags I see? Does this have 2?
Yep, it's got dual airbags.
Okay. And then low range on the transfer case, and you said there's something called a snow mode on the transmission?
Yeah, so it's got a push-button 4-wheel drive. The button's over to the left. Some people put on some manual locking hubs aftermarket just for safety reasons, but I haven't done that yet. But yeah, there's a push-button 4-wheel drive, and there's a push-button winter mode, which is kind of interesting, and it just, for some reason, it starts you off in 3rd gear, I guess, to supply a little less torque to the wheels.
Okay.
And then, so if you're trying to get out of a snow brush, you're not going to spin yourself out as you start to get going.
So there's push button 4-wheel drive, but a lever for low range.
Yep, exactly. So push it into 4-wheel drive with the button, and then I think it's good up to like 65 miles an hour or so in the high range, and then the low range is pretty low gearing, so you're like below 15 miles per hour.
Sure.
And you'll hear it churning if you try to go faster than that.
It's kind of odd, isn't it? A lever for the low range? I've never seen that, but a push button 4-wheel drive, very wacky.
And yeah, so you just push the 4-wheel drive to go into it, and then to switch into low range though, you have to put it in neutral.
Yeah.
And then
like the new
go
cars.
back to, and then you can shift it down to the low.
So you mentioned that this is a vehicle you drive very frequently, and you've had it for about a year now. Has it been pretty reliable? Are they pretty good to you?
Yeah, I haven't had really any problems with it. The only issue I've had is, one time we were at like 11,000 feet, and then the engine started freaking out. It just gave me a couple codes, but it was running fine.
Okay.
And then went home and changed the spark plugs and never heard from her again.
There you go. That's great.
Yeah.
So apart from the transmission, which you mentioned has a solenoid inside of it, right? That goes bad.
Yeah. There's just there's a slew of issues that can happen in there, but in general, there's a few things that, it's just things to look out for, and it'll yell at you at the check trans light if something's going wrong. Okay,
so do you like these vehicles, or are you gonna hold on to this one?
Oh yeah. I got a Saab just to commute in the summer because I don't want to put a ton of miles. I just want to keep it forever. It's so much fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's a really, really cool little rig. I feel like there's so many of these obscure kind of Japanese 1990s SUVs that don't really get the attention because they're overshadowed by Wranglers and then the little Blazers and that kind of thing. But for 4K, I mean, the issue is you're never going to find one. Can you find parts for them? Are they pretty?
Yeah. So the Amigo and Rodeo Sport sold okay, like around 8,000 units for the 2nd gen Amigo, and then like 4,000 units a year for the Rodeo Sport.
Interesting.
But they're also the same model as the Rodeo in every way. So like from here up, it's a Rodeo, and then from there down, it's a Rodeo. So any really part with the drivetrain, the wheels, the transmission, all of that you can change out with the Rodeo parts, and they're super easy to find.
And then as the previous owner found out, like Passport stuff will fit too.
Exactly. Yeah. So in that first and second generation, Isuzu also made the Passport, and so if you see a Honda Passport before 2003, those parts will fit right in as well.
So do you ever take this thing off road and camp in it? And
oh yeah, for sure. We just went up Jones Pass Road the other weekend and did great. You know, passing up the big Rams and stuff, and then to Lac Le Mans the other weekend too, and yeah, it does fine. Never got stuck.
Well, this thing is rad, dude. I really appreciate you coming on by and showing it to us. Next time we'll have to get this thing out, maybe do some trails with it, because I think a lot of folks are going to wonder what the little Rodeo can do. I love it. I think it's such a cool off-roader. And if you want to check out more, check out TFL Classics for more videos. But dude, this has been such a cool, in-depth look at a vehicle that I think a lot of people on YouTube have never heard of.
Yeah, appreciate y'all having me on.
Nailed it.